They say it was the greatest slaughter in the Bible. 3 years without rain. The land was dry, the wells were empty, and the people were broken. They searched for salvation everywhere, but the skies remained silent. In the midst of famine and despair stood Elijah the prophet, alone in his defiance. He accused the people, "You waver between two sides, one day for the Lord, the next for Baal. Make your choice." They didn't answer, not a word, too afraid to decide. So Elijah proposed a test. He and the prophets of Baal would build altars and prepare offerings, but they wouldn't light the fire. Instead, they would each call on their God. Whichever God answered with fire would prove to be the true God. The prophets of Baal agreed. They began in the morning. They built an impressive altar, laid their offering upon it, and surrounded it with loud cries, "Baal, answer us." Hours passed. The sun climbed high into the sky, but nothing happened. The air was still. "Shout louder," Elijah mocked them. "Maybe he's busy, maybe he's asleep." The prophets of Baal lost control. They danced wildly, screamed like madmen, even cut themselves until their blood spilled onto the altar. But still, no fire came. Exhausted and defeated, they stopped. Now, it was Elijah's turn. Elijah built a simple altar from 12 stones, placed wood and an offering on it. But then, he did something no one expected. He called for water to be poured over the altar. 3 times they poured water, drenching the altar until it was completely soaked. Even the trench around it was filled with water. The people stared at him, not with hope, but with fear. Had he lost his mind? Elijah stood before the altar, lifted his eyes to the heavens, and prayed in a calm, steady voice, "Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God." The moment he finished speaking, fire fell from the sky. It consumed everything: the offering, the wood, the water, even the stones of the altar. The crowd fell to their knees, crying out, "The Lord, He is God, the Lord, He is God." But it didn't end there. Elijah turned to the people and commanded, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let a single one escape." They dragged all 450 of them to the Kishon River. There, at Elijah's order, they were executed one by one. Blood flowed into the river. Not long after, the skies opened. The first drops fell, followed by a downpour. The people returned to their fields and their homes, as if the slaughter on Mount Carmel had never happened. But Jezebel, Ahab's queen, heard what Elijah had done. She vowed to avenge the blood of Baal's prophets. Elijah, the prophet who had triumphed in the great contest, was now forced to flee for his life. He hid in the wilderness, wrestling with a question that haunted him. Had the victory on Mount Carmel truly turned the people back to God, or were they simply terrified of the fire? The Lord may have answered with fire, but Elijah's question remained. Want more stories? Write yes in the comments below.